Imagine carrying a message that would change the world. Imagine being surrounded by people who reject you, insult you, and try to stop you from speaking the truth. And then, just when you need strength the most, you lose the two people who had stood closest to you. One gave you love, comfort, and emotional strength. The other gave you protection and stood between you and your enemies. This was one of the most difficult periods in the life of Prophet Muhammad. It became known as the Year of Sorrow. Day after day, the Prophet continued calling people toward Allah. Throughout those difficult years, there were two people whose presence meant a great deal to him. One was his wife, Khadija anha. The other was his uncle, Abu Talib. Khadija was not simply his wife. When the first revelation came and he returned home deeply shaken, Khadija comforted him and supported him. She believed in him when the world around him became hostile. Before this difficult period, the Prophet had already endured years of opposition. He reminded his people to abandon idols and return to the worship of their Creator. But many of the people of Quraysh refused. They mocked him. They insulted him. They tried to discourage those who followed him, and they placed enormous pressure on his family and companions. The Muslims endured tremendous hardship. The Quraysh imposed a severe boycott against the Prophet's clan. For a long period, the believers and the Prophet's family experienced hunger, isolation, and hardship in a barren canyon. When that period finally ended, the suffering had taken its toll. The suffering of the boycott took its toll. Khadija anha had grown weak, and then she passed away. Imagine the silence that followed. The person who had been there from the beginning was gone. The Prophet lost someone who had believed in him when others rejected him and supported him when others opposed him. The Prophet himself experienced deep sadness, teaching us that grief is not a sign of weak faith. But the trial did not end there. His uncle, Abu Talib, became seriously ill. Abu Talib had been one of the Prophet's greatest sources of worldly protection. The enemies knew that attacking the Prophet could bring consequences because Abu Talib stood behind him. But now Abu Talib was on his deathbed. Eventually, he died. The man who had provided protection was gone. Within a short period, two major pillars of support had disappeared. The protection was no longer there, and the Quraysh had not stopped opposing him. The Prophet was now facing a new, dangerous level of hostility. Yet he did not say, "I have suffered enough. I will stop." He continued, "Sometimes a door closes. Sometimes someone you depended upon is no longer there. Shaitan may whisper, 'You have been abandoned.' But look at the life of the Prophet. His circumstances became extremely difficult, but Allah had not abandoned him. There is a beautiful reminder in Surah Ad-Duha. Allah says, "Your Lord has not taken leave of you, nor has he detested you." And Allah reminds the Prophet, "Did he not find you an orphan and give you refuge? And he found you in need and made you self-sufficient." The difficult chapter was not the end of the story. After the great losses, the Prophet continued searching for a way to convey the message. He traveled to Taif, hoping they might listen, but they rejected him. This rejection became another painful chapter. Yet even after all these trials, he continued. He did not allow pain or rejection to destroy his purpose. Eventually, Allah opened doors that nobody in Mecca could have imagined. The message that had been rejected would spread beyond Mecca. The community would grow. The religion the Quraysh tried to silence would reach people far beyond Arabia. What can we learn from the Year of Sorrow? First, losing someone does not mean Allah has abandoned you. Second, difficult seasons do not last forever. Third, do not allow hardship to change your character. Put your ultimate trust in Allah. People can leave, money can disappear, plans can fail, but Allah remains. The Year of Sorrow teaches us something very powerful. Sometimes Allah removes something from your life, not because your story is ending, but because another chapter is about to begin. If you're going through hardship today, don't give up. Make dua. Turn to Allah, because Allah tells us, "Indeed, with hardship comes ease." Be patient. Keep your faith. Your story is not over.